And so I go do that and my business falls apart again. It's like, oh man, like what am I missing? And that's where the first kind of clue to business came up for me, where it was like, who you surround yourself with matters. And I realized that I was in an environment that nobody was successful in. And it's no offense to any of those realtors. A lot of great people were there. A lot of great businesses were there. I think most of those people have moved on from that particular location at this point. But it's one of those things where I wasn't surrounded by people that were growth minded and thinking about building businesses. I was surrounded by people that were happy to do sales, and that's okay for everyone.
You saw they had business systems and you're sort of starting to dial into that a little bit more. What's sort of the difference in your mind between sort of that operator mentality and the business person mentality?
I think the biggest thing is how much they're doing versus how much leverage they're creating. And I think you started with that question, was like, how do I do everything that I do? And I heard it said very, very recently where someone said the only difference between you and the successful person you want to be is how good you're going to learn how to leverage. And so as I was looking at these individuals, and particularly that person that you would mention on, is the output didn't match the input. And so I'm getting sold on this.
Yeah, that quote was a great quote from a fellow from Cardone Ventures. His name is Brandon Dawson. And that was his big thing is if you haven't made more money than I have, if you have not had employed more people than I have, and if you've not sold a business bigger than I've sold for a better EBITDA that I've sold it for, what are you going to bring to the table that I don't already know?
Correct.
And, it sounds like a bit of a bravado, but what it's saying is you're qualifying the source of the data set. And I think that's I think that's extremely important. And that's one of the things that it's great to hear because, when you talk about your history, it doesn't sound like and people aren't saying the fish is this big.
Well, and it's interesting that you say that too, right? Because like you said, it's so easy to see that. And I've had agents that have gotten out of business with me because of that transparency. And I know I've shared that with you before, where that transparency, when you're building a business and it's built on lies and bullshit and you're selling yourself to these people and then they go look it up. I had an agent once, I had an agent that was very upset with me because he was trying to recruit this massive agent. She's a gem. And so that agent called me, said, I'm thinking about joining, blah, blah, blah. And I said, cool, do your thing. Like I'll never get in the way of anybody's success. And then she came back and she said, something just doesn't quite add up. And I said, well, what do you mean? And she said, I don't know, something just doesn't quite add up. But she's like, I'm hearing this, but it's not matching. And she said, is there anywhere that I can find the numbers? And I said, well, one of the beautiful things here at our company is you can look up anybody's numbers. You can actually see what it was. And so she went and did it. And what she realized is that the person that she was already making more money than the person trying to recruit her was. And so all of a sudden she had that kind of moment of like, I'm just going to go keep doing my thing because this person's clearly not the right person for me to partner my business with. And so it does kind of separate the bullshit out to your point where our culture isn't buried in the ego and the way it looks. Our culture is buried in business owners building great businesses, because if you don't have numbers to your business, you don't have a business. And so it's easy to sell people on, we do this or we do that. But then when you can actually have to fact check it, it really makes a big difference.